Well, I just got done cleaning the tab all up and detailing it out. And it dawned on me when I was done that I should have made a video on that. But that's alright. We're going to skip all the boring stuff of how to clean a travel trailer and just skip to the good parts of what I use and what I like to do to keep this thing in tip-top shape and protected on all of its special surfaces here. So behind me here are some of the products I like to use on the tab, and some of the products I don't like to use. Now, I'm no professional detailer here, but I have been detailing my own vehicles for about, I don't know, 25, 26 years. So I know what I like and what seems to work and what's easy and safe. There seems to be a little bit of confusion sometimes when it comes to how to clean a travel trailer. And in reality, it's not much different than maybe a car or a boat or something, you know. Most of these materials are pretty much the same. Now, many of these products I've used for years, but I've been testing on this trailer over the last year to see what really works, what holds up to the sun, what may or may not hurt things like the plastic on this or these acrylic or plexiglass windows. So the first thing we're going to get into is how to wash this thing, or how I wash this thing. You can do whatever you want and whatever works for you, but maybe this will be helpful for those who may not know how. Now, when it comes to washing this thing in between trips, I just run it to the car wash and use a spot-free rinse on low and just blow all the dirt off of this thing, and then I hit the highway and let it dry. That's not the best thing to do for paint and stuff because you get a lot of water spotting, but if you have a good spot-free rinse at your car wash, it's not a huge problem. Unless you want to climb up on a ladder and wipe this thing down, so that's up to you. So sparing you all the boring stuff of actually showing you how to wash this thing, when I go to the car wash or at home, I will hose and rinse this whole thing off first. You want every speck of dust and dirt off of these surfaces, especially when it comes to the plastics and the windows, because any little bit of sand or anything and grit on there will totally scratch these things. These acrylic plexiglass windows, if you breathe on them wrong, man, I swear they scratch. So keep that in mind. You don't want to rub these windows with a dirty cloth or a really bristly brush. We'll get to that in a second. But when I go to the car wash, I usually have one of these in my truck bed ready to go if I have maybe some bugs up here on the front or something need to get off. But I will never ever use this on those windows or plastic, so be careful with that. Only on painted surfaces. So the real safe option I recently found at the store was one of these, and these are extendable. That way you can reach up there just like my bristle brush, but this has a lot softer surface to it. And you want to make sure you keep it clean and rinsed out, of course. But with this, after you rinse and soap, you could use this to go over your surfaces. Just make sure you always keep this really clean before you touch any of this plastic. And as you can see, this one, it extends pretty far up there. So it does a pretty good job of getting all the hard spots, you know, for a quick car wash run or something. Or even at your house when you don't want to climb up on a ladder. Now, as far as washing this down when I'm at home, you're going to want to get a bucket like that, of course, and one of these things to put in it. You're going to fill that up about halfway with some water, throw it in the bottom, and what that does is that keeps your washment or sponge clean and wrung out so you don't have a lot of dirt buildup in there, and all that dirt will settle down to the bottom. Now, when it comes to washing, right now I'm using this Meguiar's Deep Crystal Clear Car Wash. And this does really good. Now, I know a lot of people like the Meguiar's Wash and Wax, which is just fine too, but this is what I have on hand. Plus, I kind of don't want to use waxes on some certain surfaces all the time. So, before I even tested anything on this, I just used a regular car wash, okay? And the reason you want to use one of these instead of Dawn dish soap most of the time is because it's not going to strip your waxes and coatings as fast as like a dish soap. But I'll pour a couple ounces of that in there and then get it to foam up after the trailer's rinsed. And I'll take my nice soft mitt here and I'll go over everything. And that's only after these windows are thoroughly rinsed. So these are kind of good because you have a little more of a scrubbing surface. That way if you do have some bugs and whatnot on here, you can kind of scrub it off. Plus it has this really nice soft side. But after every time I use this, I make sure I wash this really good and clear this out. You do not want sand, once again, in this and scratching your windows or your plastics. So after the sudsing's done, I'll come through and I'll rinse this thing off with water. Of course, you always go top to bottom. Now, like I said about the car wash, Meguiar's Wash and Wax is going to be the easy, lazy, quick way of doing things. So that should work out perfectly fine if you don't want to take any of these further steps that I'm about to show you. So after you've washed and rinsed down this trailer, you're going to get up there on the ladder, on the roof, of course. And you're going to take a nice drying towel, and I prefer a nice smooth microfiber with smooth edges on it, and I remove a tag because any of that stuff could scratch things like this window. And you're going to dry the whole thing off, and 90% of the time that's probably all you need to do. But now we'll get into a couple of my detailing steps, because I am a perfectionist and I like to have my stuff looking brand new all the time. That's how I take care of things and get them to last for years and years. Okay, first things first, we're going to jump into the things that I have used that don't really work as good as I thought they would. And this Meguiar's marine grade vinyl rubber plastic cleaner and protectant, it kind of works. I was hoping it was really going to work out well for these plastics up here. But it leaves things really streaky even when I buff it out. And it really doesn't last long, and it kind of leaves a film. It might work on maybe a grainier plastic. Maybe something along the lines of this, it might work out a little better, but I wouldn't recommend this at all. The next thing that many people really like is 303 products, and I'm sure sometimes they are good, but I haven't had any luck with this. And like all these products that I'm going to show you, I will test them in a very inconspicuous place that you'll never see. And I do many tests on purpose, like direct sunlight. I wash this thing down. I like to see if it lasts, if it leaves residue, if dirt sticks to it. And you know, I've tried the spray version of this 303 protectant and stuff, and I wasn't too pleased with it, believe it or not. I mean, some of you may have good luck, but out here in Arizona, it did not do too well. And as you can see right here, it definitely didn't work to protect this from UV rays. This thing's about a year old, and this was completely black. So obviously didn't work. And I had tried this about once a month. I'd rub that coating stuff on there, and it didn't really help. Now, I know most of these products I'm going to show you are all Meguiar's, but honestly, out of all the years of detailing my cars, I've used every company's thing. There are some products from each company that work better than others, but for all-around ease and lasting effectiveness, I really like the Meguiar stuff. It may not be the top tier when it comes to stuff, but the store-bought Meguiar seems to be the safest kind of product all around to do a very well job. And oddly enough, all this stuff just smells better than the other stuff. I mean, this right here smells like blueberries, which is strange. I don't know if they're adding scent to it, but man, it smells good. Don't eat that. So back to another product that kind of worked, but didn't really work out for this trailer. This Meguiar's Ultimate Black Plastic works pretty darn good for a lot of things, especially when it comes to vehicle trim, matte black like this. You rub it in, wipe it off, I mean, and it works pretty good. It'll last a few weeks on there to protect and bring these surfaces back. I'll even do a little test spot here for you. And there you go. And after that's wiped out and it dries, this stuff isn't really greasy. It doesn't really attract dirt. I really liked it. But when it comes to this plastic here, it didn't really work out too well, and I couldn't figure it out. Even though it says it's for black, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it works really good for the black handles right here. But plastic itself should absorb this, and this would protect it, but it does leave it kind of greasy. You can wipe it back out, and it works okay, but it doesn't last that long. But I really do like this product for other things, though. All right, so now we're going to jump into window care before we get to waxing. And when I first got the tab, I needed to clean these windows. And of course, I always made sure I rinsed them. Even if I had to use a bottle of water and rinse these down first, I would do that before I cleaned them, because I do not want dirt and sand in here. These things are pretty sensitive. So I've used invisible glass forever, and this is tint safe, so I know it's probably going to be safe on plastic, but it really isn't a protectant. But I have definitely used this many times on these windows to clean them with a clean brand new microfiber. So just spray some of this on like your normal glass cleaner, wipe your windows down. When it comes to plastic and windows and things, I prefer to stay in one direction. That way I do not get scratching and swirling all over the place, and if there is a scratch, it's one direction, I can see it and figure it out. So that works as a cleaning agent. But when it comes to protecting, this Plexus plastic cleaner protectant is absolutely awesome. And what I'm thinking this is basically just a spray wax. It was specially formulated to clean and protect plexiglass and acrylic windows and things on aircraft. Now, it cleans pretty well. I prefer to clean with this first, and then I come back and I will wipe this in. Same thing, side to side or up and down. I try to keep it to one pattern, okay? Unless you're polishing. This really helps out as far as water beading goes. If it rains and stuff, that water's just gonna fly right off of there. This stuff is awesome. It's a little hard to get, but if you can, grab some of this Plexus. But I'm also going to show you what else works just in case. Okay, now we're going to get into some of the waxes I like to use. And you can use whatever you like and know works best. But this may help a few people on picking something out if you've never have. For the quick and easy in-between waxes, or we'll say it's not really quite a wax, it's a hybrid here, is this Meguiar's Hybrid Ceramic. So how you use this is, typically on your vehicle, you would spray the vehicle down with water, rinse it off, clean it, wash it. You'd spray this on and rinse it off, and then wipe down your vehicle. So it's kind of like cheating. It's a lazy man's way of waxing and ceramic coating. Now, this is never going to hold up like a true ceramic coat, but I'll tell you what, I can get about 4 to 6 months out of this product, and it still beads water pretty well. And like I was saying earlier, I don't like to mix products and chemicals on different surfaces that I do not know how they react. So keep this on the paint. Keep plastic stuff on plastic. But we'll get into what works on this plastic in a minute, and it's kind of strange. But for the cleaning duties, just some old-fashioned Meguiar's cleaner wax. You know, it cleans the paint up pretty well. It slightly gets rid of some scratches and swirls, and it leaves a little bit of protection on the surface. If I only had one wax to choose from, that would probably be it. This will do about 90% of everything that you want it to do. It's easy, cleanup is great, and it just works every time. Now, as far as detailing goes, you wouldn't be using that. You'd be using multiple steps of a compound polish and then a sealer. So we're kind of cheating here. This is the normal man's way of doing this at home, okay? So this I would use to get this paint really clean. If it had some swirl marks, same thing goes with the side. The side's got a gel coat and a paint. All this stuff is fine. Whether it says marine grade or not, it's probably no different than regular wax, honestly. But like I said, why I like a lot of this store-bought Meguiar stuff and some of the others companies is because it's typically pretty safe and you're not really going to mess anything up too bad if you do it wrong. But what I'll do with this is, after it's washed and cleaned, if I have some buildup on here, maybe some swirl marks or some water spotting and stuff, without using a water spot remover anyway, I will take this on a little foam pad, you know, and you're just going to work it in like a regular wax. Let it dry, come back with your microfiber, and wipe it on out. Easy peasy. Now, if you want to go a step beyond that, you come back with this. And so I don't get this all over different types of surfaces, I found a little hack. And what I like to do on my vehicle and this is I will take a bottle of water, because it doesn't leave spotting, and I will soak a rag and I will lightly mist this and go around and wipe this in, and then come back with a nice drying towel and wipe it all out and buff it off. This stuff is pretty awesome for water beating qualities. I mean, it's super slick. And it kind of acts like a sealant for your paint surfaces. I also use it on the solar panel up top, and that has a thin plastic film on it to protect it, and it works out just fine. And everything I've been using here has been on this trailer for almost a year now. When it comes to your buffing pads, that's all your choice. I mean, you can use an actual automatic polish, random orbital. You don't really want a polisher unless you know what you're doing. Just a regular random orbital that's battery powered or something will work on most of this stuff, but most of the time I do it by hand to get a little bit of a workout. So you can use anything. You could use this microfiber pad. Like I said, these foam pads, you probably need a couple of them, throw them away. Sheep wool tends to cut into the paint a lot better. Now we're going to get into the biggest pain that I've been dealing with over the last year to take care of, and that's the plastic. Like I said, I tried plastic specific products on this thing a few times, and they didn't really work very good. And I would test them on some hidden spots. That way it wasn't noticeable if I messed anything up. And I'd leave them out in the sun, wash them a bunch. That way I could see how they reacted and handled. And I couldn't find anything that really worked, and it was kind of driving me nuts. I really have OCD when it comes to keeping things looking good and protected, especially if it's out here in the elements. At least until I get a garage or carport built for this thing. So how I stumbled on this, I was in the garage and I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I used to ride a quad, or the same thing with a side-by-side, because it's a very similar plastic, ABS. You rub this thing with sand and dust on it, it's going to scratch, right? So I knew how to clean the plastics on my quad. And there used to be a spray out that was a silicone spray, and it makes it look beautiful like a gloss, but it didn't really keep things polished and cleaned. It just made it look pretty for a little bit. And then while I was in the garage, I thought about my car. So this is my 1989 Honda CRX. I haven't shown this yet, but I've had this car since I was in high school. And I think that makes it a classic now. It's 35 years old. But let me show you something. It's a little dusty right now. I need to take this thing to the car wash now that it's cooler out. But let me show you. This plastic here is shiny black ABS, same as this. And this down here is even a matte finish, but it's a very fine, shiny matte finish. And I remembered back to what I used to use. And everybody in the car seemed to remark on, how did I get these things so clean and brand new looking? Same thing with my taillights here. They look like they're brand new still. And then I remembered all I had ever used for basic waxing and cleaning was Meguiar's Cleaner Wax. It makes no sense at all, sort of, that will work on plastic. But it absolutely does, and it works absolutely incredible. So let me show you if I can get any kind of depth in here. And of course this trailer has been used over a year, and there are some scuffs and nicks, a lot of nicks from rock chips flying back. But other than that, and those, by the way, you're never going to get out unless you sand. But other than that, Cleaner Wax brought all these plastics back to absolute brand new condition. And it will leave a little bit of water beading protection, which is good. But I'll tell you what, I am completely blown away with how well that worked. That is absolutely insane, and I should have had a before on this yesterday when I did all this, but this was getting pretty doled out. And the reason it was doling out is because it was building up a water spot residue, even after washing and drying, bugs, guts, and who else knows what lands on here. Bird poop, especially because it stains into things like it already has right here and right here. But yeah, Meguiar's Cleaner Wax on either a foam pad or with one of these microfiber pads, and I just worked it in. Now I go in straight lines when it comes to some of this plastic, but I remembered back I can use a random orbital and it works just the same. So why I'm saying this doesn't make any sense is because typically you do not want wax in plastic, especially a matte or grainy plastic. It will stick in there and it's a real pain to get out. But for some reason, that works extremely well. I would probably only use it on shiny plastic. I'm not sure on the type of color of plastic. It may vary on how that works. And like all these things I've showed you, always do it on a very minute test spot first. Let it sit a little while, take a look at it every couple days or weeks, see how it handles things before you use anything completely. But that is absolutely awesome, let me tell you what. But I would like to know you still want to keep this off of matte plastic, okay? You don't really want to get it on this kind of stuff. Even though this is kind of a shiny plastic, you probably don't want to get it in there. It is porous and it'd be very hard to get it out. That you can use your product like this, Ultimate Black or something, and rub it in, wipe it out. And it'll moisturize and bring this thing back to new and protect it. Just one more thing. After you've used a good Cleaner Wax, you can kind of do it the lazy man's way, like I said. And you can use a very damp, wet rag and go over this trailer with this. Use this very sparingly. I mean, this thing's only gone down a quarter and I've used this probably 7-8 times. Very lightly on your rag and wipe this in while that microfiber's wet, and then wipe it back out. So that'd be the lazy man's way to protect it. After you're done doing a Cleaner Wax, you can come in here with something like this hybrid Meguiar ceramic wax. And that's gonna seal that wax job and paint job up even further. And let me tell you what, this stuff is extremely slick and it lasts pretty well. Out here in the desert, I've had it last on my truck probably 4 to 6 months before I really need to go back and you know, clean the paint up again and then add like a top coat sealer like that. But this will beat water like no other, let me tell you what. And honestly, I think this is just as good and a lot easier to use, so maybe use that instead. But try to keep it off of the windows and such. Now, speaking of these plastic windows, if you do have a swirl mark or something in there, which I did have a scratch somewhere in here, you can use a little bit of Cleaner Wax. And that's when you do your circles. And you can get most of the fine stuff out of there. So even if you didn't have this plexus here, I think a wax like this might be okay to use on those windows to protect them and clean them. Especially like a Meguiar's Quick Detailer or something. But like I said, try that in a little area first before you go wiping the whole window down with it and see how it reacts and works. Oh, one more thing to add. I did find out that Invisible Glass makes a formula specific for acrylic or plexiglass or clear plastic windows. Probably adds a little more protection to it, but this works fine too. But as of right now, if I could recommend anything to you guys for cleaning this tab, or maybe any travel trailer, it just depends on your surfaces, it'd be Invisible Glass, followed up by a plexus on the outside, a Cleaner Wax to clean the shiny plastic, and clean off your paint, along with this hybrid ceramic spray wax stuff. Those would be my overall takes if I had to have anything to detail pretty much anything, and be fairly satisfied with the outcome on that. Honestly, I don't even know why there are RV specific cleaning products, like I said, like this, and they have this in a spray wax. I'm guessing it'll work pretty good, but honestly, I don't think it's any different than any of these. And to tell you the truth, some of them probably aren't as good as any of the ones I've shown you. Well, I hope that could be helpful to some out there, maybe those that don't even know how to clean or detail a vehicle or travel trailer. I see a lot of people on these forums and stuff asking how to clean this thing, and really it's not much difference than cleaning a vehicle or detailing a vehicle. You just have to know what surface you're dealing with. But like I said, I'm no expert in any of this stuff. I just know what works myself. You can do whatever you like to do. If you ever have any questions or comments on how to use anything here or anything in general, just go ahead and leave them down in the comments section, and when I get to them, I'll answer them. It's no big deal. I'd rather help you out than not. With all that said, I think we'll wrap this up. And I should be heading out on a trip here in about a week to, once again, a overly popular campground that I haven't been to, so we're going to see how that goes. That should be a pretty cool trip. We'll see everybody next week.